I'm Kyle.
I'm Elaine.
Today, we're gonna harvest
Pine pollen!
So the first thing you want to do before you harvest anything is you want to properly identify it.
And so to identify the pines properly, you want to notice the bundles of needles, which are modified leaves to photosynthesize for the plant and make sugar. And so today we're here with a shore pine, or Pinus cornuta, and we know that because it's got the two bundles.
Another way you can identify pine trees or delineate conifers is by looking at their cone. So we got a cone back here. I'm not the best at identifying or telling the difference between cones, but I know that you can use it to identify them.
Yeah, true that. And also noticing the furrowing of the bark. And so all different pines have very specific cones, very specific furrowed bark, and very specific variation to their needles. Sustainability is always important to keep in mind when you're harvesting plant medicine. However, pines produce about 60 to 80 ounces of pine pollen per day per single pine. So there really isn't a lot of sustainability to take into account with this particular medicine.
And if you notice how tall this tree is, we couldn't possibly, even if we were assholes, harvest all of the pine pollen on these trees.
I don't even think the tallest man on earth could harvest all the pine pollen.
I don't even know where I would put a ladder.
Yeah.
That shit's scary.
Yeah.
So now to harvest it, it's really easy. There's a couple different ways. You could pop off the whole thing and drop it in your bag. I also like to go in and kind of just rub off some of the little balls and drop them in my bag. That way I don't take off the whole thing. And then just like all of the plants, we're gonna process these later.
Yeah, and it's great to do it in paper bags because the paper bag absorbs a lot of the residual moisture left from being attached to the plant. And so this will help, putting it in a paper bag will help dry out the pollen, making it easier to separate from the catkins later when we're ready to fully separate it and process it.
And to do that, we have a sweet little keep screen that we'll show you in a little bit.
I am calling to you, husband. I am singing to you, redwood. Hear this song. Birch bark, weeping willow, dogwood, blooming moonlight.
So when you're harvesting, you can see that these are not ripe. You can just give them a little tap and you can see nothing is coming out of them. And then if you come down a little bit lower, you can see the top of this is not ripe, but the bottom is. And if I give it a little tap, you can see the pollen just let go. So you can go ahead and just do the little tap test, pop, and that'll let you know. Also the vibrant, bright color. If you notice, these are kind of like a lime green, and then as you pan over, you'll see this golden yellow color start to appear. And those are the ones that you want to get.
For every one of us you've uprooted, you can soothe it.
The pollen is produced from the male catkins, which you can kind of see here, or as Kyle calls them,
The balls.
Every ending a beginning if you choose it.
So just a benefit of humans harvesting these things, you can see all of this pollen that we're helping to spread, right? So we're contributing to the germination process of these pine trees in this park.
And that's actually, the pine pollen is a key player in our ecosystems around us. It's important to understand that pines are from the evolution of gymnosperms, which means they evolved after ferns, after horsetails, but before angiosperms. And pine pollen actually gave rise to the growth and development of the angiosperms, the flowering plants. Because of the pine pollen, they went into the soil, secreted sterols, plant growth hormones, and gave rise to the complexity that is angiosperms. And still to this day, the pollen is released into the air, going into the soil, and is the key player in the abundant growth of crops and our lush greenery because of these sterols being released into the soil, helping produce the growth around us, which basically means pine pollen is the steroid of nature.
I even heard that in places where pine pollen is abundant, that humans are actually taller. I don't know if that's true, but
I don't know if that's true either, but I kind of want to know.
I'm short, so I can't attest to that.
So we were harvesting from the short pine, but we just came upon a white pine. Same time of year, and we know it's a white pine because there's five needles in the bundle, and there's no pollen to be harvested from this yet. So this is kind of a late harvest.
And look how much bigger the cones are here. But this tree, at the end of May, early June, this thing will be popping off. And you can just do a 360-degree harvest on this thing and fill up a bag in less than an hour.
I wish you could smell how amazing this smells right now.
So now we're gonna show you how to harvest pine pollen. So it's very simple, especially if you have a sweet keef screen
Or a little baby one.
Ideally, I like to dry these out in the sun for about a day. It gives us access to more pollen. But just for the sake of it, you can just dump it in your screen and then just rub it around a little bit. And while I'm doing that, she's gonna tell us some of the delicious benefits.
Yeah, so this pine pollen is really one of the most powerful medicines we have on the planet. There's a rainbow of B vitamins, which are essential for metabolism, which is our metabolism is how we get energy from our food, essentially. And not only that, but there's amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins that we also need for energy. And then there's also magnesium and potassium and calcium and iron. So this plant literally supports every single organ system in our body. It builds bones, it strengthens your muscles, it builds blood, and not only that, but there's an array of polysaccharides that support your digestive tract as well as strengthens your immune system.
And then here's the best part.
What's the best part?
Testosterone.
Ah, the sterols! Yeah, so in the pollen, it's specifically growth hormone, but in our bodies, there's sterols, which are the precursors to testosterone. So this plant specifically is super supportive and nutritive to prostate-bearing humans, but it can also, during certain instances, support womb bearers as well. So for male reproductive health, it's great. There's the L-dopa and the dopamine, so it supports the male erection as well as supports healthy testosterone production. But in women, there are certain health issues such as like PCOS, endometriosis, where there's cases of low estrogen, and testosterone is actually the precursor to estrogen. So by putting this in your body, it helps produce estrogen. And again, I'm not a doctor, I'm simply just an herbalist and lover of all medicine. So I'm not offering any medical advice, I'm simply offering a solution that you might be able to consult with a naturopath and seek out.
Shit.
Whoa. That's just like mind-boggling that they like drive by here, or fly by here.
Driving by.
So the L-dopa and the dopamine are types of like amino acids which build up the neurotransmitters in our brain, which, like I said, they support the male erection, but they also support the likelihood of a female orgasm. So that's really powerful medicine right there. It's also really great for women during times where they need high estrogen, so during ovulation, to support like fertility and things like that. However, eating it in your food brings about the nutrients and the modulation of androgens in the body, but taking it as a tincture isolates the sterols, making it very specific to medicine, making it very specific to male reproductive health. So just be aware of when you're taking it and how you're taking it. But as for food, I absolutely love making pine pollen into hollandaise sauce. And so you simply do that by taking the pine pollen with some butter in a pan, and you can use vegan butter as well, add some like lemon sauce, and boom. Since it provides so much natural energy, it's great to add into your smoothies, your pancakes, and what was it that you said you did?
Coffee. This thing, you put this in your coffee and it's the best thing. So basically, to translate everything she said, it's a complete multivitamin, aphrodisiac, and an energy drink, all packed into these delicious little golden nuggets. Now, so I've been rubbing these a little bit. They're definitely wet. I would prefer them to be more dry, but the great reveal.
Whoa. Oh yeah.
But yeah, basically you can take this and scoop it all down into this little corner, and then we're just gonna scoop it up into the jar. And then basically at this point it's good for storage. Again, now ideally we would dry all these out. So I'm gonna take these home and dry them in the sun, and I'll get like 10x the amount of pine pollen that's still left in here.
Look at how golden beautiful that is. Mind-boggling.
So thanks for joining us today. We're here in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle, and it is pine pollen season. It's basically just getting started, so you got the whole next month. I want to encourage you to get out, and you can check us out for more videos. I know Eleni is Eden's Earth on Instagram.
As well as YouTube for a lot of other plant videos as well if you're interested. And yeah, there's so many abundant medicines here in the Pacific Northwest, and I want to take a specific moment to honor the Coast Salish people, because right now we've been harvesting upon within Duwamish territory, and I'm extremely thankful for all the tending to this land they did before we came here, and the tending to this land they still do.
Yeah, I want to second that, and also just acknowledge Eleni for her incredible work. She's a great resource. I've been watching her YouTube videos, and people think I know a lot about plants. But yeah, check her out. Amazing, incredible resource to learn about plants of this region and useful ways to get out and interact with your environment. You can check me out on Instagram, Trotting Sparrow. I also have a YouTube page if you want to see cool videos of me jumping around in nature.
I've been completely and utterly inspired by them for sure. Helping me get over my fear of heights, definitely.
Shout out to the man behind the cam, Mr. Brandon Clark. Take care, y'all.
Bye.
How can we tend to the ones who pour life through these lungs?